Welcome to Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Expert advice on improving your home from the pages of Today's Homeowner magazine and professional remodeler Danny Lipford.
Well, I'm really glad you joined us this week. You know, here on Today's Homeowner, we like to take advantage of the fact that I'm a real remodeling contractor so that I can show you actual job sites and remodeling projects. But you know, different parts of the country, construction methods and materials vary quite a bit. To give you an idea what's taking place in the northeast part of the United States, we're here in the Boston area to talk with a friend of mine, Paul Sullivan, who is also a remodeler, and he's in the process of remodeling this nice 3-story Victorian. We'll show you a lot about the trends that are taking place in this area. Stay with us here on Today's Homeowner. Paul, I'll have to admit, it's a little colder than what we're used to here.
It's real cold today, Danny. Coldest day of the year so far, and it's only going to get worse.
At least the sun's shining, that helps.
Definitely helps, definitely.
As I mentioned earlier, we're here in Boston with Paul Sullivan, who's a fellow remodeler as well as a certified graduate remodeler. Now, Paul, tell our viewers what that means.
Sure. Well, certified graduate remodeler, Danny, is a professional certification program offered by the Remodelers Council of the National Association of Home Builders. There are approximately 600 CGRs in the country right now, with another 1,000 in the pipeline. In order to become a CGR, you have to take a test which measures your proficiency in both your skills of the trade as well as your business acumen. And then after that is done, those results are analyzed, and then a coursework, series of courses is prescribed for you to take prior to receiving your certification.
Great. Now, as a homeowner, this will really give you a lot of confidence when you're choosing that remodeler to take care of your remodeling project. Now, Paul, I know you've been working on this house for a number of months because you've had to do it in several phases. Give us kind of an overview of it.
It's a great house, Danny. It's about 6,000 square feet, and what we've been doing here is we've been breaking this up into 3 phases. The first phase is a set of offices on the other end of the house. These clients work out of their home, and so we started with that. We wanted to get them in there so they could get to work and pay for the rest of this job.
Good idea.
The second phase was an apartment in the center of the house. It's 3 stories, and one of their married children lives there with his wife. We did a new kitchen, some bathroom work, and general upgrades throughout that apartment. And now we're here on this end of the house. And this area behind us is the kitchen. It's a gut rehabilitation of the kitchen. We've done bathroom work, and again, just the general upgrades before we even address the outside of this house.
Okay, I know a large part of your business also involves kitchen, and I know you have a kitchen showroom, and I'm anxious to see how you're getting along on the kitchen in here.
Let me give you a look.
Okay, great.
Well, Danny, we've got our rough inspections, so now we're hanging the blue board and getting ready for the veneer plaster.
Okay, I noticed there that you have some lathing strips or strapping there on the ceiling. What's the purpose of that?
Well, the strapping is twofold, Danny. First of all, we use it to level the ceiling out and make it flat so that we don't have any waves. And secondly, it provides a raceway for wiring to get across the ceiling.
Okay, instead of having to drill through the actual rafters.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I notice on, you know, of course, you have the plasterboard going up on the walls, but what about the plywood here? Tell us about that.
Well, this kitchen's a little unusual with regard to the materials we're using. We're using stainless steel cabinetry, stainless steel counters. But on the walls, instead of a traditional wall cabinet, what we're doing is doing commercial open stainless steel shelving. There are so many places we have to attach that we would have had to put an awful lot of blocking in. So now what we're doing is just cover the wall with plywood, and we can screw that stuff right on.
Well, that's a great way to do it, and that'll help out a lot when those cabinet men show up with all of the cabinets and shelving. And the stainless steel, I understand even the doors on the cabinets will be stainless steel. That's a real popular trend.
It really is. We're seeing a lot of stainless steel.
Good, good. Now, this is a big open room, mainly because of the vaulted ceiling that you have here.
Right. It started out, there was a flat ceiling going through here. The clients came in after the room was gutted, looked up and saw all this unused space and said it would really add some drama to the room to have a cathedral ceiling. So we took out the flat ceiling and brought it up.
Yeah, it looks great. It really does. Now, what about the floor? I see the subfloor seems to be in real good shape. What will you do as far as a finished floor on this?
It's in great shape. The rest of the house has hardwood floors, oak floors through most of the house, and we're going to carry that in here. We're going to bring an oak floor in here, lay it down over this, and have that finished out to go with the kitchen.
Okay. I see with your transition at the doorway there will allow you to really tie that right in, so all of your floor levels just worked out perfect,
It'll
didn't
be
it?
exactly perfect right through.
Okay, great. Well, this looks good, and I know you have a lot more to show us around here. And stay with us, and we'll be right back after this simple solution segment.
Get ready to review your fix-it list as Danny and home repair pro Alan Lyle show you this week's simple solution.
Now, one of the ways you can save a lot of energy around your house is to seal up any penetration that you may have in your ceiling so that your heated and cooled air stays in the living area.
That's right, and one of the favorite spots for that heated or cooled air to escape from are the very common recessed lights. Now what I'm doing is taking a bead of caulk and I'm just running it right around the perimeter of the light, and that will seal off any area of penetration. These are real popular lights. They look great from down below, but you'd be surprised at how much of that heated or cooled air will escape from them.
Now, many of the recessed housings like this are insulated so that you can cover them with insulation. This particular type, which is a little bit of an older type, won't allow you to put insulation in direct contact with it, but Alan has a solution around that.
That's right. What we've got is just some regular aluminum screening. You can see I've made a couple of notches on both sides. What we're going to do is staple this to the ceiling joist, both sides. And now where those notches come in handy, we're going to fold it down right over our unit and thus form a little tent.
That way you can bring the fiberglass insulation back up against it on each side and still allow a little bit of space on top so that it'll continue to ventilate.
That's right. That looks real good there. Now then, one other area that you may want to consider is the attic access, whether it's disappearing staircase or just a hatch.
That way you can take a piece of fiberglass insulation, bat type insulation, staple it to the back side of that, and that'll prevent any of that escape of the heated and cooled air up through that opening. Now, all of these tips will really help you a lot in saving energy around your house. Of course, the most important one to remember is make sure you have adequate insulation in your attic. In some of the southern areas, you may need to think about at least R19 or R26. In some of the northern climates, at least R30. Now, in addition to taking care of all of the interior remodeling on this house, Sullivan & Company are having to take care of a lot of exterior water-damaged wood, like the rear porch they're replacing here. Here to talk with me about it is the production manager, John Marsupian. Now, John, I know you had a deck here that was in pretty bad shape. You're having to replace the whole thing, I see.
Yeah, it was really in terrible shape, Danny. It only came out to about the outside corner on the original house, and it was to the point that it was almost falling down.
Oh, I see. Pretty dangerous in that situation. Now, you also had to replace a lot of the siding, which is directly involved with that.
Yes, we did. There was a lot of siding that was rotted from water damage, as well as some of the sheathing behind the siding. So what we did was we pulled off anything that was rotted, put in fresh plywood, and we've got this home wrap right here that we put on first, and then we put our aluminum flashing on.
Okay. Also notice you have your treated blocks, pressure treated blocks on the wall. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, we like to use these blocks as spacer blocks so that if there is any water that gets behind the decking and the siding, it will flow down freely and not get caught into the sheathing of the house.
Okay. Now the foundation wall here, I guess that's some type of granite.
Yes, it is granite, and that was another reason why we were using spacer blocks, is because this granite foundation comes out so far, we wanted to try and get our first joist away from the granite because it is an uneven surface.
Okay, I don't see much granite on foundations. Do you have a lot of that around the Boston area?
Yeah, this house is about 120 years old, and it's pretty common to a house this age. And actually, this foundation is in real good shape. So we were lucky in that respect.
Okay, I know you're in the process of helping Kevin install the joist band there. Also notice you've laid out on 16-inch centers all of the joists that you'll be using on that, and I guess because of the joist tying directly in there, you'll be using something we're real familiar with here with the joist hangers that'll actually be used to attach the floor joist to this band.
Yes, what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll lay all of our pressure treated joists into this joist band, and then we'll come back with the hangers afterwards and hang the joists off of the hangers. It's real key in an installation like this to have the joist hangers in place.
Okay, all right. I understand you also had quite a bit of a problem on this area of the house. Actually, part of this cantilevered area had sagged a little bit. Tell us how you're repairing that.
Yes, this area in particular was pretty bad, to the point that the wall had come loose from the wood sill that holds everything together. So we had to open everything up, expose everything, and then literally push the wall back, sister all the studs with some new 2x4s next to them, and re-nail everything in. And also in the process, it had sagged quite a bit from water damage, so we had to jack this whole corner up.
Okay, and you'll be, what, putting another post there later on? Then?
Yes, what we'll do is we'll take this temporary support out, pour some new concrete, and then put in a brand new 6x6 pressure treated post to hold up this whole corner.
Okay. Well, of course, this siding is a regular clapper type siding, horizontal lap siding, but on another part of the house, I understand you're having some problems with some of the cedar shakes that are a little water damaged.
Yes, there are some other rotted areas of siding on the house, and one area in particular we're working on is right around the corner.
All right,
here.
let's take a look at it.
So Danny, here's one of the areas right here we were talking about, and actually Dennis is working on the outside corner right now.
Okay, now what kind of wood are we using here on these shingles or shakes?
We're using white cedar shingles for siding. They come random width, so we have to cut them to fit. We have to cut each one of them, and we're working on an outside corner right now which involves weaving on this particular house.
Okay, what are some of the things you have to know about when you're doing a repair like this?
Well, you've got to know how to weave them in properly. You've got to make sure that you're staggering the shingles so that you don't end up with joints one over the other.
Okay, well I can see that's pretty labor intensive, and while Dennis finishes up that, let's take a look at this week's best new product.
It's time to check out the Home Center for this week's best new product with Danny and today's Homeowner Magazine's editor-in-chief, Paul Spring.
You know, pruning trees and bushes out in your yard can be one of those things that are intimidating to a lot of homeowners. So I love it when they have a tool like this, Paul, that makes that job a little easier.
This is one of my favorites, Danny. As you can see, these are nice and compact. You can get inside a tree, like a fruit tree, where you need a lot of just ability to move around. But you can also get that high branch. These are called the extendable handle loppers, and you can see why. You just extend all the way out. You got a 50% increase in reach now.
Great. Now this will prevent you from having to get that ladder out sometimes, which can be dangerous and take you a little more time, but also that really increases the leverage when you're cutting those taller limbs off the trees.
It does, particularly those thick limbs, and you can see that's also aided by this compound action. You get an awful lot of strength here with not a lot of arm behind it.
You know, it's real comfortable too with the foam handles that you have. That's real convenient. I also see in the head shears available in the same thing, and it extends as well.
Exactly right, Danny, that same extendability. And you also have a nice feature here, which is these are made to last, and over time you get a little bit of sloppiness in the blades, a little bit of wear, and this allows you to just dial in the right tension between those two blades.
Now these look a little expensive. How about the cost on it?
You know, they're not bad at all, Danny. These are about $25 a piece. You have a choice in the loppers, either the anvil type, which I showed you here, or in a bypass, and basically you're getting a lot of tool all in one package.
Well, Dennis and Kevin are making some great progress here on the rear porch framing. They're basically complete with all of the floor framing. They're ready to put on the deck boards. Now the deck boards they're using are a little different than I'm used to using. Well, Paul, your carpenters are really moving along on that rear porch.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. We're going to have the decking delivered a little bit later today, so we can just keep on rolling with that.
All right, well, tell me about the decking. I know you're using the same material that you've used here around back. What are we looking at?
Sure. This is clear vertical grain fir, Danny. It's It's very durable wood, and it's very much a traditional architectural feature in this area.
Okay, well, down in the south part of the United States, generally we're using a pressure-treated material. Why not use that?
Well, we use that for all the framing underneath because of the decay and rot resistance of that wood. But here in New England, we're steeped in tradition. This is the material that's historically been used on all the homes in this area, and so we continue to use it today.
Great, great. It really does look good. You can tell it's a good quality wood. Now, how will you finish this out?
Well, all the trim on the porch is going to be painted, and you can see we've used pre-primed lumber for most of that. But the decking itself we can treat in two ways. It can either be painted or stained, or we could do it with a linseed oil.
I see.
Leave it natural and let it weather.
Great, great. That would look real nice on this house here on this side.
Favorite.
Now, I know yesterday they were in the process of installing the blue board on the interior of the kitchen, and I know the finishers are here to apply the skim coat. I'd like to take a look at that.
Head on over there and Tim will show you around.
Okay, great. We'll see
Thanks,
you soon.
Danny.
Tim Cormier is the plastering contractor on this project, and Tim, what stage are you in here?
Nick is applying the veneer finish. He'll put on one coat and then he'll double back and put a second coat.
Okay, I know yesterday they were in the process of installing the blue board, and real similar to installing standard drywall.
Very similar. All the same tools are used. Utility knife to cut the board, routers to cut out the outlets, as well as screw guns with 1 1/4" screws to apply the board.
Okay, and then of course the taping of the joints again is very similar, but you're using a fiberglass tape.
Yes, we're using what is known as a perforated tape. It allows the plaster to penetrate through the tape, and it allows for a better seal on the seams for a good base coat.
I see. Okay, and then you put the base coat over all of the seams.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we follow back with, as Nick is doing, putting on one coat. And then you'll see afterwards he'll be doubling back with a second coat.
Okay, what about drying time on the different coats?
We can actually adjust that. We try to adjust it so that everything falls in sequence. We'll make it so the base coat is set so that we can start the finish to allow the project to be done on time.
Okay, now what about the actual final finish on it? Now with drywall, many times we spray a light texture on it, but I think here you're able to really get it smooth, aren't you?
Absolutely. For a smooth finish, we can achieve a glass finish. If it's done properly, it can be as smooth as anything.
Okay. When you use the word plaster, people think of it as being very hard, and some homeowners think of it as being very hard to hang a picture or a mirror, but it's not the case at all, is it?
No, the hardness of the plaster is very true, but as far as hanging a picture or anything like that is a piece of cake.
Okay. Now I noticed earlier you were using a chalk box and popping a line along some of the seams. What's the reason for that?
Whenever we have something other than a 90-degree angle where we're trying to achieve a nice crisp line, we'll put a line up there so that we have something to follow.
Now, is this system used a lot in the Northeast?
It is. A lot of people consider that the New England area uses it, and as it turns out, there are states in New England that actually don't use it. It's very common in the Boston area, though.
Okay, great. Well, we better move out of here before Nick starts splattering us with some of the plaster here, and stay with us next as our Around the Yard segment.
Now for a bit of news from the great outdoors as Danny takes a look around the yard.
Minor lawn repair involves removing a small section of your lawn that may be dead, diseased, or just full of weeds, and replacing it with a piece of sod or by seeding. Dig out the damaged turf, then with a trowel or digging fork, loosen the soil to 4 to 5 inches. Work in a little compost and then level the surface. To resow, sprinkle the seeds over the prepared soil and cover it with a thin 1/4 inch layer of topsoil. Keep the soil evenly moist until the new grass is at least 1 inch high. To resod, dig up a piece of sod from another area of your yard where you may want to widen or create a flower bed. Cut the sod to fit and press it firmly in place. Keep it evenly moist until the roots grow into the soil. Whether you're repairing a patch in your yard with seed or with sod, choose a grass that's compatible with the rest of your lawn. This is a nice looking Victorian house, and once all of the remodeling is completed, it'll be a lot more comfortable for the homeowners. And you know, you hear a lot about Southern hospitality. Well, the folks here in Boston have really made us feel at home, particularly Paul Sullivan and his team at the Sullivan Company. They've really made us feel just like we're at home, other than it's a little colder than we're used to.